areas in the state that have comprehensive, in-depth health education. One is in Anderson, the other one's in Allendale or somewhere. And that kind of in-depth concentration has resulted in a significant decrease in the number of teen pregnancies. I would agree with you that sometimes in the heat of the moment, irrational decisions are made, or no decision is made. But I would suggest to you that if you had the kind of instruction that is taking place in Anderson and Allendale or Bamberg one, in every school district in the state, we'd have a significant reduction in the teen pregnancy rate. The other thing is, and I agree with Chairman Patrick, you're an anomaly in the legislature if you believe that local decisions ought to be made by local people, because we want to micromanage everything from Columbia. We want to tell everybody what to do, not only cities, but counties, school boards, everybody. And so turning everything back over to them may not be the best solution, but the situation is, as is pointed out, these school districts decide. The State Board of Education and the State Department of Education have adopted health standards that are to be taught in elementary, middle, and high school. They've been adopted by both the Department of Education and the State Board of Education. Those standards are not necessarily taught in every school district, because school districts can decide what they want to teach themselves. But, and I'll point out again, if we can believe the testimony that was presented, that that's what's being taught in our schools, then that's all the more reason that we need some kind of a bill specifying what can and cannot be taught.
Yeah, one more, if that's okay, because
yes, I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. The thing that, you know, and here again, you just re-solidified the fact that what's being taught in Anderson today, under today's standards, is sufficient. If that can be taught today, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to make sure that programs like that are being taught around the state. Now, Mr. Chairman, you had mentioned that you had sent out a questionnaire on Common Core and got a 50% response. Now, when we ask questions of these districts from this standpoint, as far as sex education or comprehensive sex education, what are you doing, how are you doing it? If we have to tie that response to some source of funding that this school receives in order to get them to answer our questions, then I think that's what we need to do. Maybe that's the pathway forward, so that when you or when this body questions a school district, what do you do here? They're going to be very apt to answer that question.
And I'm going to get to everybody else, and Representative Wells has assured me that he's done. And that's why there is a provision within this law, and it exists within proviso, but as everybody knows, provisos are in the budget. This is sort of codifies the idea that if they're not following the law, they could receive a 1% reduction in their base student cost. So what I would suggest to you is, Anderson, whatever school district that woman was from that gave the testimony that we all agreed was good testimony, you know, they're following the law, and it would be suggested that there are others throughout the state that aren't. Representative Rivers is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, and we're all adults. We've opened the door, but we're still skirting around the main objective of the bill and what exactly is going to be taught. You take a guy and a gal and two teenagers. They want to have sex. How does your bill address it, and how would the teachers go about teaching sexual prevention, or disease prevention? How would your bill handle that? How would your bill deal with that? You take same-sex, I don't want to say couple, but two people of the same gender, and they want to have sex, and they're in a counseling session or in a class, how would your bill address it?
The bill addresses what would be taught. And the essential change that I'm not sure is being taught in Anderson is that contraception under current law, I believe, and maybe Representative Owens can check me if I'm wrong, is that contraception has to be taught only in connection with marriage. And it can't be taught outside of marriage. And I think that may be one of the things that's not being taught at Anderson. I don't know, like I say, I've not been in all those classes. But I am not a trained health professional. I can't tell you exactly how I would go about teaching that concept to people in the classroom. I know some of the things I wouldn't do, and one of the things we heard taught by a high school coach who happened to be in my district wouldn't be taught. But I can't tell you exactly how you'd go about telling a male and a female that were wanting to have sex. I'm not sure they're going to come to you and ask you, what do I do? But I think what you do is you tell them that if you're going to have sex, that you need to be safe, that you need to use contraceptives, that you want to avoid sexually transmitted diseases, and that condoms don't always prevent all sexually transmitted diseases from occurring, and that sort of thing. But I don't know. Not being a health professional and not certified to teach health education classes, I can't answer the question.
So literally it's saying, okay, we know you may not, everyone may not abstain, but if you decide to have sex, here are the options, this is how you do it, and things like that.
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
I'm just going to make reference to the specific paragraphs so that you can take a look. It should be on your page 3, paragraph C. Explain methods of contraception and the risks and benefits of each method. Abortion must not be included as a method of birth control. Instruction explaining the methods of contraception must not be included in any education program for grades kindergarten through 5th. Contraceptive information must be given in the context of future family planning. Period? Period. That's right. Current law. That's current law. My amendment, and I'm not sure how this tracks with Representative Skelton's amendment, but continues in that same paragraph and is underlined, as well as pregnancy and disease prevention, including but not limited to sexually transmitted diseases. Now, I will simply say this, because this is maybe the second time that this has sort of come up, and I think it is necessary to be a little bit more specific. We're not, in this legislation, either in my amendment or Representative Skelton's amendment or in the law itself, necessarily highlighting specifically what must be taught in the classroom. We're just generally speaking what should be taught in the classroom and absolutely excluding what cannot be taught in the classroom. And it sort of, again, tracks with the same concept as, statewide standards. And the curriculum that is actually adopted, what actually gets taught in the classroom, is up to local school districts, their school boards, and the committees that decide on curriculum to be determined at a local level. This is not curriculum. This is not what is taught in the classroom. This only provides the standard, the parameters. Does that make sense? Okay. That's not what this legislation, along with Common Core standards, quite frankly, is designed to do, is to tell teachers how to teach in the classroom, or what to teach in the classroom. It just sort of broadly defines the parameters. Representative Mitchell is recognized.
Mr. Chair, that was gonna be my question to you and Representative Skelton, was that seeing it only seems that between the two amendments, that your amendments covers the entire sections 1 through 9, and Representative Skelton's amendment covers from 5 through 7, but in addition, on section 1C, it's already the law. Abortion must not be included as a method of birth control, but what you added in that bottom section on sexual activity, and you define that any activity in 5(8), is that the only difference? Because looking back through it, I mean, we got this coming in, but that's the only difference I see between the two amendments is in this section 1.
No.
There are other differences, Representative Mitchell, and I'm not sure. Both amendments were handed out earlier today on the floor, and I'm not sure at what point you came in during the subcommittee hearing, but in my amendment, I outlined exactly what I thought the differences were between Representative Skelton's amendment and what he considers as a compromise amendment and what I consider as a compromise amendment. So there were other substantive differences. There's probably 3 or 4 substantive differences between what Representative Skelton has introduced and what I am introducing.
Yeah, I've got that down. I've checked those, the other differences, but I mean, going back to section 1, because I've compared the notes on the 2 of your other sections, but section 1 seems to be the only other section that representing your amendment addresses.
In section 1, I would argue that you are probably correct, although in paragraph 2, when it references reproductive health education, we kept the words unrelated to reproduction to keep the instruction on the topic of reproduction and not what has been called outer course. I don't know if you were here for that testimony. I don't need to go through the whole outer course discussion again. You like for you? Great. Those are the only substantive differences in section 1.
And I will go back to Representative Taylor's comment about not knowing. And if this committee is setting a policy in the stage 4, our schools across the state, and we don't know what's going on or what's being taught, when you see 60% of the students having intercourse and then all the other problems that we see, I think that, looking at the 2 amendments, I think yours adds a little more. It adds a little more to the meat of the discussion of what the concerns were out of the testimony that we heard. Because some of that testimony, I'm still not sure